Hello, everyone. Welcome to another stream on An English View on Porto, and it'll be just me covering this one today. Normally, I do like to have a partner along with me, but nonetheless, I'll be giving this one a go by myself. See how I get on. I'll probably do about 40 minutes overall. But I did want to do a live stream for this game in particular because Vicente are in fourth place, which is impressive. So this is going to be a fairly big game. Now, just bear with me one moment because I do want to check if my audio is working. Yep, all good. So let's start by looking at the Porto side of things as usual. And now, having watched Francesco Farioli's press conference, a few things were confirmed, and that's Victor Froholt is ready to go to play, despite the fact that he picked up a knock, and my source for injuries and suspensions expected he'd be back within February. But if Farioli says that he should be available, then fantastic. But then also consider the fact that he's played a full 90 minutes against Victoria de Pils and the fact that it was only a matter of 3 full days apart. Although that being said, the fact that Porto are playing on a Monday and not today on Sunday does improve Froholt's chances. But I'll let you know my prediction on the lineup shortly. And whilst I try and round up any more news that's come through, Vasco Sousa has returned from his loan spell. Farioli talked about his enthusiasm. And so, do I think he's going to push to be in the squad like the first team lineup anytime soon? I doubt it. But he's another option, and he had some respectable performances when he played for us under Vita Bruno. So let's have a look at the standings, and as predicted, Porto are still in first place. Just got it up here now. Still having won all but one game. Sporting CP 4 points behind, having won yesterday against Arouca. I'll be keeping an eye on them for this coming week, seeing as we've got them in 2 weekends. Or you could even say in 3 Mondays. But along with the standings, we'll look at the past few games, just do a little recap, and the Victoria Pilsen game that ended a 1-1. As I said, it felt like a lackluster performance, especially in the first half. We had a great opportunity when Vidra got sent off for a handball, which was a penalty because he was right on the line. The ball hits his arm before hitting his, I think it was his upper leg. Probably wasn't quite the knee, from what I remember, but still, that was a penalty. And then Samu missed the target, but he's been getting support, emotionally, from his teammates and staff. And Farioli has hinted that he will probably take a penalty again if it's, especially in the league. Now, if it's in a big moment and Samu has not scored anytime soon, then it might be a case where somebody else takes it temporarily early, like we saw Varela take against Victoria Guimaraes. Still, nonetheless, but second half, it was very average until we saw Dennis Gould's impact and Francisco Mora's impact, and then things started looking promising. Mora himself got on a goal that was ruled out, which was due to a handball from Samu in the build-up. And Dennis Gould, even before he's got his goal, he had moments of looking good. So I think when our best players were two substitutes, that's kind of was telling the story, even though it wasn't the worst I've seen this season. And let's go back to the last league game where Porto got the win courtesy of a winning penalty by Alan Varela. And this was another case where Porto went away to a competitive side in the league, not at the top, but they're in and amongst the pack, and could have easily gone on the wrong end of this result. And some reason the viewing's got a bit weird. But of course, the moment that really did change the game was this substitution when Boya Sainz went off for Oscar Piatruzewski. When he came on, he was causing the defense of Victoria Guimaraes problems, especially Strata, when struggled to keep up with the pacing of him. And of course, I'm not sure who it was that gave away the penalty, but Oscar P won on that penalty, and he's already been bringing impressions. And the fact that he wasn't playing or wasn't even registered for that game against Victoria Pilsen does suggest that he may well start against Gil Vicente. But as I hinted at, this wasn't kind of the first time where we had like a scrappy away win. We had that with Santa Clara, difficult game place to go to, and yet managed to get the result. I think it's a good thing we are back at home, because I think now we can be. I think we'll be a bit more confident in our attack on the home games, even though the one against AVS was pretty piss poor. Most of the others were pretty fine. The Malmo one was a bit awkward especially in the second half. But I feel more confident in our attack at home than away, based on some of the recent results. So yeah. Then, to my knowledge, the majority of the players, that there's no like new injuries or anything like that. But I think the thing I want to see from Porto is, as well as getting the win and a good performance, would quite like to see the attack be dangerous, at least be a fortress at home, and hopefully we're capable than more than just scrappy 1-0 wins. Got our first commenter of the evening, Mango Juice. Welcome, come in. Just finished talking Porto. We're going to talk about Gil Vicente next, but do get your thoughts in. You're welcome, regardless whether of Porto, Gil Vicente, or anything else related to the fixture. But yeah, Gil Vicente have been very impressive so far. The fact that they're usually kind of a mid-table team, maybe sometimes lower end. This season, they managed to go as far as to get be fourth place, whilst also, and I will get the screen up as soon as possible. And in fact, before I do that, I'll shout out Rodma and 630. Welcome in. Good to have you all here. But yeah, I was meant to have a guest come on, but wasn't feeling well. But I wasn't able to find anyone else in time. But still, looking at Gil Vicente, trying to get this screen up again. So this is currently their standings. Still, as I mentioned, fourth place, in amongst a race with like Braga, Morientes, Famalicão starting to potentially come in there. Vitória Guimarães have fallen back. They actually weren't too far off before they played Porto, but keeping it on Gil Vicente, currently a goal difference of 11 with actually only 24 goals scored. And that's not too surprising given some of the wins I've seen from their end. And they don't have many players that were top scorers. Obviously, one of the players that does stand out is Pablo, as well as Luis Estaves, who I put in the thumbnail of the video. Let's have a look at their past few matches. So they got a 2-1 win over Nacional. Now, Nacional have been on the lower end of the table, but this may seem a little disappointing from the fact that Gil Vicente didn't win by more. But to be fair to Nacional, they did to limit Porto to a 1-0 defeat back in September when Porto were at the height of their powers, and probably should have been 2-0 if Pepe had scored that big chance. But recently, Gil Vicente have had a lot of draws. Now, this one against Sporting CP was an excellent one. They would certainly have taken that. But despite being fourth, they've only had one win since late October, which was a impressive victory over Alverca. But generally, they've been good defensively, difficult one to break down, and I think being solid has helped them get to this stage of the season. So yeah, I'm gonna just change my screen again to another tab that I've got. So as I mentioned, Pablo, who's currently their top scorer, is one on that as a player that stands out. I've actually got the details here. Let's look. 10 goals this season. Oh, has he gone to West Ham? Oh yeah. My bad. He went to West Ham, but he was the top scorer, having got 10 goals in the first half of the season. And the fact he's got a move to West Ham, I think that's an excellent one for him. And being coached by Nuno Espirito Santo, I think will also be a boost to him. But yeah, I expect what Gil Vicente will provide in this game is they'll make it difficult. And Farioli himself had hinted it about the difficulties that they pose, including physicality and things like that. But I think. And let's also not forget that they managed to get a draw against Sporting CP, who are currently in the title race with us. Now, reflecting back to earlier in the season when we got that 2-0 win, I can recall it being an okay performance from both sides. Don't remember too many threatening chances on their end. And on the Porto, and for Porto, they did enough. Let's trying to, what am I getting up here? Schedule this. Another fan in. Welcome in, Maderian Marvel. So yes. How are you guys feeling ahead of this game? How are you feeling when it comes to our chances? How you think Gil Vicente are going to potentially pose problems on us? And also going to Benfica not too long ago, they managed to. Was it possible? No, I'm thinking of a given game, but they managed to only lose by a margin of 1, having gone down to 10 men. So yeah, over sudden they've tended to be a team that I haven't enjoyed watching Porto play against. But I do respect what they've done this season and the fact that they are as high as they are, even despite the number of draws they've had lately. The win against Nacional was a step in the right direction, and they certainly got some big games coming up ahead. Not even just Famalicão, is Moreirense, Braga. I think I saw Estoril were quite not too far from the other teams that were chasing the playoffs. Benfica. So this is a very big month for them coming up. Playing the two of the big three between February, they've got some challenging games to see whether they can stay in that race for the UEFA spots. Time will tell. But yeah, let's have a look at how I think this game's going to go down. I believe we're going to see Gil Vicente. In fact, I should probably look at some of the lineups as well. But I expect them to make it difficult. They can be they tend to be quite sturdy. And Porto over the years have had some difficulty against them. But I think what I expect Porto to do is they'll set up in their usual formation style, and they'll use the wingers with high energy. And I think they do got to quite mix it up in their attacks. So yeah, going off the last game, they've gone with 4-2-3-1. Let's check if that's still being the case. Also a 4-2-3-1. against Sporting CP. So it's likely that they're going to be playing this kind of formation against us as well. Also, shout out to their goalkeeper Andrew. I think is it Calvin Andrew, or is it another player? But I know he's been around for a good few years at the club, so he's worth mentioning. So yeah, I would expect them to stick with their 4-2-3-1 and be pragmatic. Use that defensive midfielders to be the spine of the team, hold the play, and I'm sure they'll adapt their attack to be both ready for a counter attack, effective on set pieces. They may have the capability of taking the game into terms of proactive chances, but I don't think we're going to see a lot of that. I do think we're going to see Porto with possession and all that. So yeah, as we've still got a bit of time left, as I was aiming for about 40 minutes. I will and the chat has gone up a bit. I will just send a reminder that Farioli has said that Victor Froholt will be available to play, and that Oscar Sousa has returned from his loan spell. Though that being said, I don't expect Sousa to be competing amongst the first team anytime soon, either alone or he might be on the bench here and there. I'm just glad the away game is out of the way. I can see Farioli resting a few players. I'm not sure whether you were referring to the Gil Vicente away game, the away game we had a midweek, or the most recent away game we've had. But given where Gil Vicente are in the table, I'm sure he'll go with the strongest that's possible there. But with the fact that we had a game on Thursday and then we've got another game on Thursday, I think he will rest a few players, which I'll get onto shortly. But yeah, we'll see how that does go. But I was also I would also mention earlier that the fact that we've had two scrappy away wins, one against Santa Clara and one against Victoria Guimaraes, and then we had that draw to Victoria Pilsen, which we needed Dennis Gould to be impactful in order to get the result, and unfortunately more didn't come after that. But the fact that Porto are back at home, I think that's going to do the team good, and I certainly feel more confident in a stronger win when it comes to at home than away from home. And Gil Vicente away is a tough game. Pitch isn't as big as Dragao, and chances are harder to come by. Great point. Definitely with a wider, bigger pitch, we've got more flexibility in attacking. So down the wings, we can stretch the play easier. I do remember before watching Eastleigh versus Swindon Town in the FA Cup on the TV, the manager of Eastleigh asked the groundsman to narrow the pitch to stop Swindon from playing wide, but that's a bit of another matter. But yes, certainly chances will be easier to come by in this game because as well as having more ground to cover, it'll also mean we can mix up the play more as well. And the other part of the fact that the Gil Vicente game is out the way first was the fact that we got to play it early on in the season. In fact, the first away game of Porto's, and Porto were getting to the height of their powers at that point. Gil Vicente had probably not fully settled in this season. The players were still gelling, as was ours, but we had the strongest squad and all. And so I think with that in mind, we're going to certainly see it. But I think the fact that they've drawn quite a lot of games does, although they did win the last one against Nacional, that can make them a bit unpredictable, because they, as well, although they got a draw against Sporting CP, he drew to the likes of Aruca, Rio Ave, who went down to 10 men, Casapia, Vitor Aurea Guimaraes, who are a good side, so no slack there. And they even lost at home to Tondela, and I'm also seeing an away draw to AVS, and their previous wins before playing Nacional was 4-0 away to a Verca, and they got a home win to Santa Clara by 1-0. I say that I saw like the last 20 minutes of Gil Vicente versus Nacional, and from what I did see, there wasn't too much quality in the Gil Vicente attack. They were just sort of keeping it simple whilst they were on top, and as I hinted at, Nacional themselves have been competitive against Porto at the height of their powers. Cesar Peixoto really gets this team ready for the big games. Well organized and quick counterattacks. Thanks for sharing. Not surprised there. So, and the fact that they don't have as many games that they played on the schedule means that they've got an advantage on that aspect. The fact that the players will be more fresh. But I'm sure Porto have a good enough squad depth to compete with that, and I think potentially they'll have everything else. But it's certainly going to take a good performance to assure of a positive outcome for Porto. And I didn't watch that game they had against Sporting CP, but which I probably should have. But nonetheless, I'm sure that are adapting to the stronger opponent was also quite key, and something similar here, including especially with the organization, which has been talked about in this stream, and no surprise with the quick counterattacks. I'm gonna talk about my predicted lineup next. So I expect Diogo Costa to start in goal. There's no reason not to if he isn't available. I think Alberto Costa will start at right back. He played less minutes against Vitória Pilsen than Martin Fernandez did. So, and the fact that he's usually the first choice means that he will surely be starting. And I think there's more of a chance that that Martin Fernandez starts against Rangers than Costa does. Then I think Thiago Silva will start. Will come back in. Not only did he not feature against Vitória Pilsen, Jan Bednarek played a full 90 minutes. Yeah, I think Jakub Kiwior will be the other centre back. Francisco Moura came off the subs bench against Vitória pleasant and was impactful. Was quite fast. Was involved in attacks. Got a disallowed goal himself, and I think that he's going to get prioritised for a league game against a not so straightforward opponent than against Rangers, which that's still a game that's a must win in order to get to the top 8. I don't trust enough results to go our way if that game ended in a draw. But yeah, I expect Francisco Mora to be prioritised in this game and will start. Alan Varela, I think, will be back in, having Rosario played in against Benfica and against Vitória Pilsen, and Alan Varela came back for the league. I think he's starting. Gabri Veiga will start as well. Now, the other midfield spot really did that did puzzle me a bit, because there's Pablo Rosario, who can play pretty much anywhere in defense or midfield. But I fought against him because he would likely be prioritized for playing against Rangers in Alan Varela's role. But I wouldn't be surprised if Rosario started, and if he didn't, he'll probably feature in some capacity against Gil Vicente off the bench, if that is to be the case. Victor Froholt's back. Farioli said he'd be available, but I think the fact that he played a full night, does against Vitória Pilsen means I think he'll be an impact sub. So I think with that in mind, I think Rodrigo Mora will start. And then on the right, I think I've got Pepe. I think Oscar Piaczewski will start on the left. And the fact that he's not registered and he's not going to be registered until the knockouts, if I understand that correctly, and he's made an impact, I think he'll start, and Samu up front. So to reiterate my lineup, I've got Diogo Costa in goal, Alberto Costa at right back, Thiago Silva, Jakub Kiviar, and Francisco Mora making up the rest of that defence. Alan Varela, Rodrigo Mora, and Gabri Veiga in midfield. Pepe and Oscar Piaczewski as my wingers, and Samu up front. If you've got any lineups that you think Farioli will play, then let me know. I think I'll be letting this go until the 40-minute mark, and give your score predictions as well, because I will be doing that very shortly. I don't really know what Gil Vicente are going to line up with, but let's have a one more look at how they lined up against Nacional and Sporting CP. So again, it was in the 4-2-3-1, which I expect they're going to do against us. So I certainly expect Luis Estaves to be there. I don't know what the situation with Calvin is, with Andrew, the goalkeeper, seeing as he didn't play against Nacional. Yeah, pretty similar lineup up against Sporting CP. So something along the lines of this is probably what I would predict. And my prediction, I think we're going to see a difficult game. And if this was away from home, I might predict a draw. But I certainly am confident that we're gonna get this. The only thing I'm not sure on is margins. I don't think Gil Vicente will have enough in their attack to threaten Porto defensively. My prediction, I'm going to say Porto 2, Gil Vicente 0. I think there's not, I mean, this is one of these where I think it may take time, or Porto might score early and then not much happens afterwards. I think various things could happen, but Gil Vicente are a difficult team to break down. And that they are where they are because they've got some good results. But I think 2-0 because I think our defense will be solid enough to keep them at no goals. And I think whilst I have question marks on the attack, I do think being at home will help in Porto getting the win and enough goals that they need. Away from home, I've got more questions, but I think being back at home will breed some more confidence. And yeah, so I'm just going to say Porto 2, Gil Vicente 0. Give your predictions as well in the live chat or in the comments below if you're watching on the replay. That pretty much rounds up my live preview of this game. What do you think? What are your expectations going into this game? Leave your thoughts, and we will be going live on Wednesday with a Rangers guest to find out more about the opposition and what the feeling is going into this matchup. And I'll be factoring the previous game, tomorrow's game, in talking about what's looking ahead of the game against Rangers. So yeah, that's what's coming up. I do some other. I've got another idea in terms of some content that's Porto Rangers related, which time will tell whether I do that. And Madeira and Marvel has given his prediction 1-0 or 2-1. Think it will be tight. Yeah, I definitely understand that. And given that they got a draw or at home to Sporting CP and a narrow loss to Benfica, that's definitely understandable. And with the wide players not being the most reliable in goal contributions as of late, and maybe there's some unsurety about Oscar P. There, I do see the argument there. I thought maybe Oscar may help in some way in getting an extra goal. But yes, thanks for sharing your prediction. So yeah, more to come very shortly. Another stream to come on Wednesday. I'll probably do a video if I've got time. I'll likely do a video for that Aruca game. No, Aruca, Casapia, and then I'll definitely be doing a live preview for Sporting CP, or that which will take place the Friday before the game, and Sam Fonseca will be back for that. So very much looking forward to having him on the channel again. But yes, thanks to everyone for all your contributions, and more interaction is heavily appreciated. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button, I'd love to have you with me. We've been going on a very good progressive journey, and I will be doing a short review on this game afterwards. So and until the next, thanks once again, and until the next time, Forza Porto.